Hello, test, test. Let's see what there we go. Mute you. I'll mute you. Okay. For well, a couple of things. I've gone live twice, 3 times now, I think. First time I didn't mean to. Second time I literally clicked the live button and my hand knocked an entire cup of coffee into my fucking lap and onto my keyboard, which was awesome. So I had to deal with that. And then I found out that apparently YouTube changed something, because now it's the interface between YouTube and like my restreaming service that I use and the OBS, like the streaming software that I use. They changed something, which is really annoying because they didn't need to do that. Now I have to go back and reconfigure all that shit. So if you're watching this video after the fact and you're looking at the comments in the on the stream that's like popping up, you know, like on the left side here, you'll only be seeing Twitch. So other than that, should be business as usual. I did get a notification that apparently everyone and their mom is streaming right now, so I guess viewer count will be low, but that's fine. Whatever, I don't care. Apparently, there's quite a few people doing their thing right now. So let's go ahead and jump right into things. The way I'll structure this is I'll try to keep it slightly consistent with my last 2 streams, where I've been primarily talking about the dollar, going into the implications into crypto, and then the actual implications into specific coins like Bitcoin and various other alt picks. Specifically, we'll be talking a lot about Ether and Link. Those are the ones I've been tweeting about, and I'm sure those are the ones that people are mostly interested in anyway. So let's go ahead and talk about the dollar. So first of all, let me pull my little chart over here. There we go. Dollar saw a pretty sizable bounce this week. I'm sorry, last week. Today's Monday. Did not see a meaningful bounce. Today's Monday, and first let's look at the chart just for what it is, and then we'll look at how price actually reacted to it, because it's doing something very interesting. So let's look at just the weekly view, and we'll slap our Bollinger Bands on there. And what we can see is that, you know, although the bounce was, it was pretty nice size bounce. It was about, 1 or 2%, which for a crypto trader that's not shit. But for all macro markets to see a 1 or 2% drawdown against their value is pretty big. And that's why we saw pullbacks on, stocks, metals, crypto, and all that other stuff. It's because the dollar was gaining value. And so because the dollar was gaining value, everything denominated in the dollar saw a little bit of a pullback. And personally, I'm macro bearish the dollar, and it just so happens that I'm also macro bullish everything else. So that in combination, that in concert with one another, creates a really, really interesting environment, because it's going to shape the bias in which I view the pullbacks on stocks, metals, and crypto. I'm treating any bounce on the dollar as a buy the dip opportunity. So usually when we see these little bounces, crypto will take a little bit of a dive, stocks will take a little bit of a dive. And so we want to look at like, what are the downside objectives to all of these things, whether it's crypto, stocks, or metals. And we can use the dollar chart to kind of give us a little extra insight as to what the crypto market's going to be doing. As far as where I think this bounce is going, I don't think it's, I said this the other day on my last stream, but I don't see this bounce going anywhere. It looks more like a dead cat bounce to me. When we look at the monthly Bollinger Bands, I mean, this thing is just starting to move. We had a very tight consolidation here, and now we're seeing the expansion of the bands. And a lot of times whenever we see candles start to close, especially at the beginning of moves, they'll start to close outside of the Bollinger Bands. They have a tendency to want to mean revert. And if you're a fan of the Bollinger Bands, the mean reversion is just to get back inside the little envelope. So something like, let me find an example in the past. Something like this, for example, comes to mind, where we see a macro beginning. It tends to overshoot the bottom, gets a little bit of a bounce, and then the real downtrend begins. So I think if we had to draw some sort of historical comparison, I think we're about here with our current market. But when we look at just how consolidated the market was, I mean, it's like, get out of here, volume. I don't want you. When we look at how consolidated the market was, we can quite clearly see that. I mean, this is the lowest the dollar index has consolidated 20, 30 years, in a very long time. And so when I see consolidations like this, where it's just like, it's at a market top, right? It's formed this nice trading range, and it finally decides where it's going to break out, and it breaks out to the downside. When I see that in combination with this highly consolidated Bollinger Band setup, this just screams a downward continuation. When we talk about targets for this dollar, I'm talking about like larger downside objectives, like maybe seeing this 83 to 78 zone. This whole little band is most likely going to be support, but I'm really actually targeting quite lower than that. After everything is said and done, I'm targeting somewhere down here. We see a really nice supply and demand channel, where this is the demand and this is the supply, and we see this just really nice deflection off the top of the band. This is going to most likely be a point of, maybe something like this, for example, where we see it comes down, gets a little bit of a bounce, maybe reconsolidates, and then either reverses or it goes down. At this point, I'm just, I'm not a crystal ball, psychic, where that's like, oh, it's definitely going to go down here. But that's, if it does continue, if we see downside strength, this is where I'm going to be eyeballing a potential bottom. Right in here, I'm most likely going to be reducing some risk on my other positions like gold, silver, stocks, crypto, and then reevaluate from there. Because although we did see a strong pullback in crypto, I mean, when we look at this in the grand scheme of things, this little guy right here is fairly insignificant. So if we come down here, we see a very strong, probably like a retest of this level or something like that, right? There's a lot of things that could happen down here. So once it gets down there, that's where I'll be looking to risk off quite a bit and just kind of see where things go. But all things considered, this thing looks bearish. Monthly just looks uber bearish. When we look at the weekly, nothing that's like, get out of here. The weekly does show that it could see a little bit more upside, but ultimately, when we get down into the meat of the matter, this thing's already starting to trend down. It's up into this cloud resistance. If it does break through for whatever reason, I suspect this 200 EMA is going to be quite the foe to defeat. And for me, if you guys have followed me for any length of time, you know that the 200 EMA is like my baseline for bearish or bullish markets. Quite simply, if the market is trending above the 200 EMA, it is a bullish condition. And if it's trending below, it's a bearish condition. And if it's just kind of chopping around, well, that's quite obviously just some sort of consolidation. But the 200 EMA, a lot of people have different EMAs that they like to use, but the 200 EMA tends to be the mean reversion point. That doesn't mean that every time it consolidates and comes up, see here, didn't you make it up there until it had this strong markdown, and eventually it came up here, came down, came up here, came down, and then it consolidated and continued its downtrend. So any further upside on the dollar, I expect it to get swatted down right at this 200 EMA area. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the whole dollar thing. I mean, even if you're looking at it just from a fundamental standpoint, the dollar just there's nothing really bullish on the horizon for the dollar. Everything that's, in the news, whether it's the Federal Reserve or this election or mass unemployment, all this shit is bearish for the dollar. I don't know what is going to happen over the next year, 2 years that's going to cause it to be bullish, but it doesn't look good for the dollar. So, which is very interesting. If you've been trading stocks, you know that S&P shorts are at like record levels right now. Like people just keep shorting the S&P 500 because in their mind they're thinking, oh, you know, the typical retail thought is that if the economy is going to shit, then I should be short on everything. But if you've been trading markets for any sort of time on a a consistent basis, you know that value doesn't just go down. It shifts from one area to another. You know, it could go whether it's to cash or whether it's to stocks or to crypto. Money is always sloshing around. It doesn't just go down. Everything doesn't just go down. It transfers to something else. So the name of the game is how do we find out what is the direction that capital is flowing. And right now, capital is flowing to everything that isn't the dollar. That's why housing is going up. That's why stocks are going up. That's why metals are going up. Crypto is going up. And in the grand scheme of things, a bearish dollar is super bullish for crypto, for stocks, and for metals. So that's I can't recommend this enough. Even if you don't want to trade metals and stocks, if you're just into crypto, I recommend you at least chart them because it gives you deeper insight as to what is happening. It gives you a better pulse on the market, and it allows you to focus your time or just say, this week, next couple of weeks, I'll probably just chill and wait and see what happens. So before I get into the crypto stuff, you guys have any questions about the dollar? So a couple of questions on Twitch. So you would say everything priced in US dollar will skyrocket? Yeah, I already answered that. I guess you asked that 5 minutes ago. Will the contested November election accelerate the demise of the dollar? I think so. I mean, let's play it out here, right? I mean, right now the dollar is already trending down and Trump's in office, right? So if Trump stays in office, it's just going to be business as usual and most likely going to continue to trend down. If Biden gets elected, most Democrats typically tend to run on a platform of higher taxes, which means that, I mean, in the environment that we're in right now, increasing taxes on an already damaged economy is just, it just makes no sense. So that's going to be weaker for the dollar, and the Dems want to have higher stimulus payouts, which, where does that money come from? It comes from the Fed. The Fed has to print that money, which means that every time you print money and stimulus gets injected into the economy, the dollar goes down. That's just what happens. You increase the supply, while even if the demand stays the same, increasing supply means that the trend will go down, right? It's just a balance of supply and demand. I worry about the life of the average American in the future. I mean, to be honest with you, I do too. I am not optimistic about the actual long-term implications of what this means for American society. Not to get too apocalyptic, but if you follow any of these sorts of dudes like Douglas Murray, Jordan Peterson, a lot of those guys, keeping the politics out of it, they raise a lot of really good points about like what we're seeing right now is very symptomatic of the end of empires tend to go through these sorts of cycles. And it seems like the American trend of things right now is, I'm not bullish. I'm not bullish on the U.S. economy long term. And I'm saying this from, I tend to lean left politically, so take that with a grain of salt and take that or don't take it. I'm just a fucking dude on the internet. What do I know? All right. So I'm not going to like lecture you about politics or anything, but yeah, before we go to the Bitcoins, You guys have any more questions? Did we see the dollar hit that 200 EMA or 200 MA on the daily before continuing down? So you must be late. No, you don't necessarily have to see this. I mean, look at this. Look at this trend up. It didn't tag the 200 EMA one time. And look at this trend down. Like it didn't tag it tagged the 200 EMA ultimately, but the first leg down, it was kind of consolidating around this 50 EMA area here before ultimately breaking down. So no, tagging the 200 EMA is not a prerequisite of trends. It's more of like, if shit really hits the fan and it does see a sustained bounce, that's most likely going to be the objective before it does anything different. What are your favorite stocks to be in right now? So to be honest with you, I don't trade individual stocks. I'm kind of a noob with, I'm bad at trading stocks. I don't like things like earnings reports. Like I tried to trade stocks back in 2018 and I did okay. But there's just so much chaos, and to be honest with you, I don't really give a shit enough about it. But what I do trade is I trade major indices. So right now, I'm trading S&P 500 and biotech stocks, and the tickers for those are I trade the S&P 500 ETF, which is SPY, and I trade the biotech stocks ticker, which is IBB, and then I trade gold and silver. And then everything else other than that is purely crypto. So I don't trade individual stocks. My edge as a market analyst / trader is macro things. And what I've found out about myself, a lot of people are good at getting really granular, getting low time frame, getting really individual, hyper specific with their views on the markets. That's not me. I'm more big picture. I'm better at identifying large swinging trends. And when I start to get more granular into stocks rather than just playing, indices, that's when I tend to lose my mind a bit. And my dollars. But we won't talk about that because I only make money, right? No one ever loses money in crypto Twitter. All right. So let's go ahead and let's go to crypto. So here's the dollar. Where's my... Boom. Okay. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about big picture for total market cap. I actually still have my annotation on here from the last stream, so I'll just leave this on here because same logic holds, okay? So my view, just to reiterate, is that crypto is one asset. Let's make this a different color. Yeah. So my view is crypto is one asset. Total, the ticker total, TOTAL, is the total market cap, which includes, it's Bitcoin, it's every altcoin, it's the entire crypto market cap. And my view is that I get my macro bias first. It is instructed by the total market cap. What is it doing? If total goes up, we are in a bullish environment. And right now we are bullish. So let's place this argument. We'll leave this off, and we'll qualify that argument. But the general idea is that crypto is one asset. When we look at the quote unquote growth of crypto, only thing I care about is I don't care about fundamentals for the most part. I'll trade a couple of things based on fundamentals every now and then, but for the most part, I don't give a shit about fundamentals. I think there's a lot of, let's be honest here. If you've been around since 2016, how many scams have you seen just go up in flames? How many promises of like, this is the next big thing? Like, fuck all that. Okay. I don't care. I just want to make money. I don't care what the next big thing is for crypto because it changes every goddamn day. So sorry to hurt your feelings if you're a maximalist of any kind. I get it. I first got into crypto because I was a Bitcoin maximalist. Then I started to see other things. And now I'm just a profit maximalist. So I'll trade anything as long as I can find an edge in that market. I don't personally care. So when I look at my arguments for how to view the market, I look at crypto market cap first. If total is trending up, that means, what does that mean? That means that the crypto market is expanding, right? It's growing, and it's growing in this like nebulous sort of thing. So what I'm going, okay, so if we could draw a nebula, right? Nebula where stars are born, right? The nebula will expand in all directions, but not at the same rate in every direction. So when we look at, this is probably going to sound weird. I think of things weirdly. If this doesn't make any sense, feel free to ignore me. So I'm going to give some weird visualization that helps me. I view total going up as the nebula is expanding. And within the nebula, there's like little nodes, right? Here's a node, here's a node, here's a node. And the nodes don't necessarily expand at the same rate. So what we want to know is, before we put any money into crypto, period, we want to know, is the node expanding? Is total going up? Is capital entering the market? Period. Is it? Well, the market's trending up. We have different trend metrics we can use to justify this. But quite simply, we have higher highs, higher lows, and right now we're finding a huge change of character. And that's, we're flipping the support here. This was resistance for the longest time. Now it's support. So if total is going up, you're in a bullish environment. Total equals bullish. Smiley. Okay. Within the asset, there are subclasses. Okay, so I view, if you're looking at total, right? Let's say this is total. Total can be broken down into two different assets. We have everything that isn't Bitcoin, and we have Bitcoin. And Bitcoin makes up, the lion's share. So if total is going up and capital is entering the market, we want to know where. Okay, is it going into altcoins or is it going into Bitcoin? Because that's the trend of things, is that it is either one or the other. It's very rare that altcoins will go up and Bitcoin will go up and at the same rate. So what we want to know is, if capital is entering the market, we want to know what is the best use of our investment. We don't just want to throw money at any coin, right? We don't want to just say, well, if crypto is crypto, it doesn't matter where I put my money, but it does. There are better and worse uses of your dollar, and so we want to know where we're putting our money. So the next argument is, if money is entering into the crypto market, we want to know where. Is it into Bitcoin or is it into altcoins? So to help us with this, we can say, if we've got our view on total, we can look at total 2, which is just the altcoin market cap. So this is total market cap minus Bitcoin. Total 2. Boom. And, well, right now we're seeing a really, really bullish setup on altcoin 2, which again is total market cap minus Bitcoin. So when we look at altcoin 2, total 2, which is just total alts, we're seeing major strength here. We see this trading range it was bound within, and then we see this very clear markup in price. And now we see a major change of character in our market structure since 2018. Since the beginning of the bear market, we see now a breakout and a retest of this market, and it's making this really nice double bottom, which actually has a strong upside objective, which is like 70% growth. 70% from here. That doesn't mean that every altcoin is going to go up 70%. What that means is that the total capital invested into altcoins in general has a very strong argument to have 70% growth. Well, that's great. Okay, so now that says, if we look back at total capital's entering the market. Cool. Is it entering into Bitcoin? Yes. I mean, obviously Bitcoin's been growing, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth about. But are altcoins trending up? Yes. And they're strong. They're trending up strongly, and they have a very strong bias to continue trending up. So next step is, well, before I move on to actual crypto, like individual coins, do you have any questions about the arguments I'm placing for the market caps, whether it's total market cap or total 2? Because you guys are awfully quiet, so maybe I'm just preaching to the choir and you guys already know exactly what I'm talking about and you don't need any further clarification, which is fine. No questions? All right, cool. All right, so now let's look at the Bitcoins. Where is it? There we go. All right, so we got Bitcoin here, right? Oh, question from Twitch. Any tips on getting good at macro analysis? Yeah, stay away from crypto Twitter. And I don't mean that facetiously. I mean that seriously. Most of crypto Twitter is actual garbage. And within that garbage, it's mostly low time frame stuff. But if I could give you any tip at all, it would be to keep it simple. When you're looking big, you want to keep it simple as possible. The more, I mean, tools are, don't get me wrong, tools are great. Indicators are great. They have their time and place. But when you're looking at macro market structure or macro trends, keep it simple, keep it reliable. My analytical methods are very simple. I use a market structure, which is usually just horizontal levels of some kind. And I use a trend model. So I have a structure model and a trend model. My trend model, I use the Ichimoku cloud on standard settings with the 200 and the 50 EMA slapped on top. And I use those to form my bias. So just make sure you keep it simple. The more you complicate it, the more the lower time frame that you drill into, the more you're going to second guess yourself and forget the big picture. That's why I've been trying to tweet a whole lot less and just keep big picture in mind, because it's really easy to get lost in the weeds, you know? Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I don't know why, but I mean, and I'm going to keep saying this, but over the last 2 to 3 weeks, people have been incredibly bearish on Bitcoin. And I don't get it. As soon as this pullback happened, everyone was like, oh shit, Bitcoin's going down to $6,000. I mean, maybe it does, but you know, calm down. There's a lot here that still has to be blown through for that even to be considered. I mean, it just goes to show you how conditioned people have been from the Bitcoin bear market to think, oh, because there is a pullback, it will therefore continue. And no, that's not the case. If we go back to our total market cap, what is our bias here? It is up, right? Crypto or capital is entering into the market. And as long as capital is entering into the market, I'm looking to buy dips. Okay. And right now, this Bitcoin dip was fucking beautiful. It was textbook. You have this very clear horizontal level here. It was resistance a million times. And now it's flipped to support. But for whatever reason, people are like, oh, this is bearish. Like, in what world are we living in that this structure is bearish? I don't get it. I mean, part of me thinks it's just people that didn't, maybe they were a little gun shy down here, which is fine. Maybe they were gun shy here, which is fine. But don't let that cloud your, the end goal here. The end goal is that, or the big picture is that we're bullish, guys. The dollar is going down. It's trending downward. It has a very strong bearish bias. Total crypto market cap is bullish as fuck. Bitcoin sees this pullback, and it's holding support. Like, it's beautiful. Until this support gives way, the trend is bulls, right? Like, buy the fucking dips. Buy it, and the moment you make your buy, don't get on crypto Twitter. Just close it out. You make your buy. You're like, cool. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. That should be the general take. Is that you're buying. One of my biggest mistakes back in 2017 when I was trading was I was really shitty on the buy and hold mentality. And to be honest with you, I've changed my tune on that. I really have. I think that when you're buying these, like, when you're trying to time all these swing highs and swing lows, yeah, it's fun. Just like driving fast cars are fun. But eventually that fast car is going to slam into a fucking brick wall or another car. And if you don't have a plan and you're not very organized and methodical, things can go haywire really quickly. So I've completely changed my view on buy and hold, right? You want the slow drip of the endorphins, not the big rush. And right now this is by the dip zone, right? And I guarantee you, just like clockwork, the moment we break this high and we close back above it, all of a sudden everyone's going to be posting their bullish tweets that apparently they've been bullish this whole time. Just stop watching, including myself. Stop giving a shit what other people think. Focus in on what your goals are, because everyone's goals are different. And as far as I'm concerned, this is bullish. Again, total market cap is bullish. Altcoin market cap is bullish. And now Bitcoin is bullish. So let's talk about some upside objectives here. When we look at the daily time frame, which is a great time frame to watch, it has a bit of uncertainty on the. I'm going to call the daily time frame a quote unquote low time frame, just for the sake of relativity here. When I'm looking at macro, I don't even like to look at when I say quote unquote macro, I mean weekly and monthly charts, not necessarily daily. And then the 4-hour chart is going to be like, if you really, really want to like trim some fat off of your entries, then you'll go to 4-hour. But for most people, just looking at daily closes is sufficient. But when we look at the daily trend right here, it's showing a bit of uncertainty. It's kind of doing this like oscillating thing in the cloud. The fact that it didn't get just outright rejected here is honestly bullish to me. Typically, when we see breakouts to the downside of the cloud, the trend model, it will come up, retest the cloud, and then get spat back out. And the fact that we aren't seeing that on the low time frame is bullish. Typically, we see something like something more along the lines of like this, where we see clean cloud breakouts. We see something like, maybe something like this, where it comes up, it gets rejected, and eventually it continues down, and vice versa for the bulls. Whenever we see here something like this, where we see the market come down, it gets back into the cloud and it comes back up. It won't typically come through the cloud, come back up through the cloud, and then go back down. It'll pick one way or the other. And I think we're in the decision-making zone right now. And the fact that we have, again, the bearish bias on the dollar, the bullish bias on the total market cap, I'm leaning upside on the daily trend here. And when we slap the Bollinger Bands on here, it's further supporting evidence. Even on the weekly trend, it's just further consolidation in an otherwise macro uptrend. I mean, we're not even closing candles below this midline here, right? It just came up, and now it retested, and it's getting a bullish response. So this, for me, this level right here is like, I'm not even considering risking off any of my crypto until Bitcoin starts closing below here. And especially while total market cap is trending up. Which brings me to my next point, which I'll talk about here in a second. But do you guys have any questions about crypto before I go into the relationship between the dollar index and crypto in general? So from Twitch, no, this is great, very informative. Oh, good. Okay. Any tips on getting good at macro analysis? I already went into that. If you're just going to buy and hold for 5 years, how much? Wait, this is a weird question. If you were just going to buy and hold for 5 years, how much Bitcoin / Ether would you own now to be able to retire in that time frame? Bro, I have no idea. I have no, that is like so many ifs in that sort of thing. And in 5 years, crypto could be dead in 5 years. I don't have an answer for that. Price drives sentiment. Yeah, I agree with that. No one has that number. Yeah, I have no idea. If anyone had an idea of that, they would have just done it, and they wouldn't be talking to people about it. We're all just a bunch of nerds trying to make sense of chaos here. But that's why I think it's really important to have a balanced portfolio with exposure to crypto. And I could talk about this all day, like balancing your portfolio, exposure to different markets. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Something that is honestly really helpful is that I think if you take the candles off of your chart, right, and we just slap the trend line, or not the trend line, the price line, it kind of makes a little bit more sense, right? Because if you look at the candles, sometimes you're like, well, it's below this wick, blah blah blah. But when we're looking at the macro view, like a weekly view, for example, I think it's really helpful to just look at the line chart, and it makes a little bit more sense of what is going on, and it's a little easier to make a judgment call. And something that I'm noticing is similar to how you can use momentum oscillators like RSI, MACD, SMI, stochastic RSI, insert oscillator here. We can use relative strength compared to the dollar to gain insight regarding concepts like divergence, bullish or bearish. So typical, just crash course on oscillators. If you like to use RSI, which nothing wrong with RSI, is that typically when you see the price making higher highs and the RSI is kind of doing something like this, and it doesn't follow through, and we see higher highs, we see lower highs or even equal highs on the RSI. This typically means that there is a lack of bullish momentum, and that often means that there is a pullback in the future. Things can diverge for forever, really, but it's a good canary in the coal mine to begin, your market tactics, whether you want to buy or short, or just get a little bit more confidence in your position. Similar to RSI and MACD and all that other shit, we can compare the dollar index to the price of Bitcoin or the price of a the total market cap value. And something that we do see is, just because of simple mathematics, right? If the dollar goes up, everything denominated in the dollar goes down. And if the dollar goes down, then we should see everything else go up. But every now and then there's a couple of signals like this, right? Where we see the dollar, let me expand this a little bit so you can make it a little bit more sense. We see the dollar making higher highs, but there's no lower low here. I mean, it's a lower low, but it's like marginal, right? It's like basically equal. Despite the fact that we see the dollar making this strong push up out of this range, we're actually seeing Bitcoin rallying within its own little range here. And this is a form of bullish divergence for Bitcoin. So the dollar's, you would think if there's going to be a continuation of the dollar upward, you'd see other things like making lower lows accordingly. So if we are seeing something like this, along with something like this would most likely not bode well for Bitcoin. But that's not what we're seeing, right? I mean, that's not what we're seeing in stocks right now either. We are, but we'll just talk about crypto right now. But Bitcoin is showing major strength relative to the dollar right now. And this is also tainting my bullish bias that we're just doing a larger time frame support and resistance flip here. So again, further confidence that we're seeing a bullish continuation. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Ether and Link specifically, because I think they're very interesting. And then after that, we'll take some requests, and then we'll move on with our lives. So from YouTube, thanks for the hard work. You're welcome, Terror Bear. Hope that doesn't mean that you're bullish or bearish on crypto. So when we look at Ether, for example, Ether is, in my opinion, one of the strongest looking coins right now on a macro basis. So for my trend model, again, I use the Ichimoku cloud. Ichimoku cloud with 50 EMA and 200 EMA. And we can see here that for the first time, well, we didn't really have a 200 EMA developed back then, but for the first time in a while, Ether Bitcoin is above the 200 EMA. Additionally, we're seeing this strong bullish breakout on the cloud. So back in 2018, when the bear market really started, we can see quite clearly it was trending down. It was well below the cloud. It was tagging these trend metrics really nicely for the bears. And now over the past few weeks, back in the early 2020, back in, earlier on in the year, we see this strong consolidation into the cloud. And now over the last couple months, we're seeing this very strong breakout out of the cloud. And this is great. This is one of the only coins that's doing this on a weekly chart, honestly, because it's one of the few coins that's doing well that actually has the price history to do this, to reflect this. But Ether Bitcoin looks very, very strong. So if we combine our bearish bias on the dollar, our bullish bias on the total market cap, and the bullish bias on the total 2, which is again the altcoin market cap, Ether Bitcoin is set up, or Ether in general, is set up to really, really perform well over the next year, if you want to be, have a little bit of macro outlook. Ether is set up to have a strong year in 2021, and going into 2021. And when we look at the USD chart, it shows exactly the same. I tweeted about this in August, I think, right when we were about here, and I was saying, like the buy the dip opportunity is a wicking low that retests this, and sure enough, it came a fucking pixel away from that zone. So not only did it came into the zone, but it closed here. So we see this flip here. This was resistance. This was resistance. And now it is being support. So Ether USD, Ether Bitcoin just looks so bullish right now. Closing above this level is huge. It is, in my opinion, the most bullish thing you could ask for, because it's the only level, it's seeing some resistance here, of course, no big deal. But what's more important than this finding resistance is that it's finding support, and it's making this higher high, higher low sort of dealio in conjunction with Ether Bitcoin, total market cap, dollar, blah, 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 insert here. So yeah, Ether Bitcoin, Ether USD, everything just looks so bullish right now. Before I talk about Link, do you guys have any questions about anything else that I've said? All in on Ether. Well, if you're all in on Ether, you should be sitting pretty happy right now. All right, we'll keep going then. So let's talk about Link, because that was one of the... I've only really been tweeting about... I mean, I briefly mentioned XRP, which I guess I'll talk about, but let's talk about Link, because if there is one coin I'm just like stupid bullish on, it's Link. I've been bullish as fuck on Link, and I don't know why people feel the need to be bearish on Link. It's done nothing but just trend up since it began existing. I mean, it doesn't get much cleaner than this, where it just... I mean, this is a match made in heaven. Link's like, oh, cool, 200 EMA, love you, bud. Just giving him little sweet little kisses on the on the cheek every little time it comes down. It's like, oh, cool, thanks for the motivation, bud. Next leg up, boop, 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 boop. It just keeps going up, keeps going up. Every time it tags a 200 EMA, it goes up. All Link does is win. That's all it does, especially compared to Bitcoin. And I don't know if people are so butthurt about Link, but dude, Link has front run macro crypto strength since 2019. Back in here, this is when I first started. I mean, maybe it did it before, but every time Link bottoms, it typically signals the beginning of a macro crypto bull market, or at minimum an altcoin, quote unquote altcoin season. And sure enough, this is what we saw. I tweeted about it right here, right on this close. And I mean, it's up what today? I mean, from the close, it's up 30%. It reached somewhere around 40%, right around the high. I mean, if you want to be really specific, 45% from swing low to swing high. And I think it's going to keep going personally. And this is Link Bitcoin. If you look at Link USD, it's actually a little bit more than that. It's up 40% from the close. So from when I tweeted this, it's up 40%. And I didn't do anything special. I'm not trying to I am patting myself. I'm being honest. I'm patting myself on the back here. But mostly just because it's like, this is if out of all the plays in crypto, longing Link on the 200 EMA has just been such an obvious thing to do. If you looked at Link just on its own merit, nothing else considered, just doing that alone, I mean, you'd be sitting pretty fat. Right now it's got this 50 EMA it has to tackle, but it's nothing terribly crazy, especially when we look at the Bitcoin chart. It's coming up on the 50 EMA, which, it usually has a little bit of resistance on it. Yeah. So hopefully you bought the dip here. I think that the move on Link hasn't even begun to really mark up yet, and I'm looking for around $71 as the upside objective for Link. Just based on Fibonacci extensions, seems to be a pretty reasonable ask. Especially when we look at swing low to swing high on price discovery breakouts. I mean, it typically goes up 350%. 270. I mean, I don't think $70 Link is ridiculous. I think you would put it at like just a little less than Ether's market cap. So everyone that's like super like, oh, Link's never going to go that. Those same people that are shitting on the idea of $70 Link are going to be the same people that when I was tweeting when Link was $1 that it's going to go to $5, they were shitting on that idea. And then again, when I tweeted this breakout and it went to $20 and I was talking about double digits, people were shitting on that idea. Those same losers are going to be saying the same thing when it goes up to $70, guarantee you. And I'm not kidding when I said that I think Link is going to be the new Ether. Not the new Ether in the sense of like the technology. Again, I don't give a fuck about the technology. I mean around the ability to get hype news, to see macro breakouts, and just like really, really, really like I think we're going to see, just like how they're Ether maximalists now, I think in 2 years we're going to see that same sort of crowd being Link maximalists, because it just made them a ton of money. So from Twitch, popular narratives are always lagging indicators. I don't even know what that begins to mean. A, how do you define popular? I'm assuming you mean like if you're talking about, the bubble market anatomy. But yeah, I guess. How do you decide which time frame, 4 hour, daily, whatever, to apply Ichimoku? So you can apply, honestly, you can apply the trend model that I use. You can apply it to something even as low as like the 15-minute trend. But if it's not trending, then it's going to give you a bunch of shitty signals, right? So you can see quite clearly that on the 15-minute chart, it trends really nicely, or it captures the trend really nicely. But once it starts to consolidate, it gets really noisy. But like, look, for example, here's the 15-minute time frame on this whole Link markdown from $13 to $7. I mean, look, it just, if I take the cloud off of here and just look at the 200 EMA, but then of course it goes into this like consolidation sort of dealio, but then it marks down. So it applies on all time frames. It just depends on how much cocaine and Adderall you want to do to keep up with it. I would just prefer to have a fucking life, to be honest with you. So I typically stick to it. For different coins, I have different things, but for Link specifically, I look at the daily time frame on Link USD and Link Bitcoin. Let's see. Schmidt, on a scale of 1 to dead, how's our boy XTZ going to recover? Okay, so I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you. But let's see if I have this labeled here. So so right now, XTZ looks like shit. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It looks like shit. It's getting this bearish retest on like this entire range low. And this is one of the things for me that I take into consideration with a fundamental aspect to it, because the whole hype of XTZ is that, or for most people, I think for the casual investor, it's the idea that you can stake the coin, and the people. So if we look at people who are just going to hold and stake, we can just completely remove them from the market activity in general, right? Because if they're not going to sell, they're not going to sell. But one of the allures of XTZ is the ability to stake it and get staking rewards, right? And if crypto is trending up, why the fuck would you sit there and hold a coin that's at minimum underperforming other markets? And that's why I think we're seeing this slow bleed out, is because over time people are like, maybe I'll just sell a little bit of XTZ to throw it at something else. And I mean, I don't see the bullish in a bullish market. In a bullish crypto market, I don't see why XTZ would flourish. I think it would do better as a hedging tool in a macro bear market. And when we look at the Bitcoin chart, it looks even worse, right? I mean, I think when I last talked about it, it was here, and I was like, I hope this thing doesn't break down, but quite clearly it did. I mean, look, it was range bound in this really, really nice trading range, something like, whatever you want to call the lower boundary there. But I mean, this just looks like shit. It just broke down out of a multi-month trading range, and it did a bearish retest, and it's getting spat out, and there's just no demand. I mean, yeah. I mean, it is. I do think, with that being said, I do think it's due to balance. I mean, there's a couple of different divergence things you can see here. I mean, price is going down, the volume's going down, and momentum oscillators are trending higher lows. So I do think there's going to be a relief bounce on it, but I don't see anything on the Tezos chart that says, yo, buy and hold me. Like, there's just way other better looking things like Link, Ether, or Bitcoin, I learned to stop doubting Link when it hit $10 the first time. Thing is basically meme magic now. Well, to be honest with you, I think Link, just like how Ether had all those stupid, I mean stupid in a good way, but stupid like, oh, EEA 1, EEA 2, oh, EEA 10,000, where we stopped announcing anything, and it's just like, oh, we have a partnership, a quote unquote partnership. All those stupid fucking news events that drove Ether up, I think those things are still applicable, but I think we'll see them to Link because, they have the partnerships with different enterprise partnerships. There is no sound on the YouTube stream. Are you muted? Did you mute yourself? Because I hear my own voice on it. Is Link gonna have a major retrace? Bro, Link just did a major retrace. I mean, how much of a major retrace do you want? It broke out. It broke out, right? And it retraced over 60. It's like, do I not? Are you serious? Can I? Yeah, there we go. And it's down between. See, here's the problem: is that people get so greedy with their retracements. But dude, from swing low to swing high, Link retraced about 70% of its move. This is, I mean, how much more of a major retracement do you want? 65% from its high. I mean, come on. Come on, people. Got to be reasonable here. So in theory, another question from YouTube. So in theory, when the bull market starts for real, we might see Link behave as Ether did and probably run 400 to 500, maybe top at 1200K. That could be juicy. I don't know about $1,200. But I also was, back in 2017 when I was talking about $100 Ether and it was like $20 and it kept going to $300. I learned to stop. I learned to remove my expectations of what potential upside is. There's still a lot of untapped capital in other markets that could shift over to here. So seeing $1,200 Link that wouldn't surprise me at all. But that being said, I did buy the shit out of this dip, and I plan on holding that for a very long period of time. Hey Schmidt, so glad to have you back. Thanks so much for your time and great analysis as always. Oh, thanks. Susanna only has one N. So Susanna. I remember your name from like 2017. You've been around for a while. All right, so damn. Okay, I'm trying to keep up. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to keep up with the questions here. On Twitch, can you look at XLM, ZRX, and Neo? Yeah. Another question. That was exactly what I did. Sold XTZ to get. Yeah. Okay. So the statement is that was exactly what I did. Sold XTZ to get into the Uniswap hype, and had to ride the gains elsewhere. Exactly. Like there is no. Why would you sit there and just your staking rewards aren't going to keep up the pace of the decline in value or at least underperformance of other coins, right? So it's just common sense to me. Like, why the fuck would you just sit there and hold it? Makes no sense. Most people are in crypto because it's highly speculative. They're not going to sit there and be like, well, this is the safe play. Like, no one's doing that. Come on. Unless you're like, who's the big dude that's in XTZ? Is it Tim Draper? Like, unless you bought it when it was just like dirt cheap, I don't see a reason for why there would be new retail demand here. There's no driving factor for me. Okay, so let's look at because I did post about XRP, so we'll talk about that and then we'll go into those other coins that you mentioned. I'll briefly touch on XRP USD. The hell am I doing? There we go. All right, so XRP USD, I'm pretty bullish on XRP, just because it's slamming into this range support here. It's doing so on decreasing volume, and we have this really beautiful just textbook divergence here as it makes lower lows, and the oscillator and volume is making higher lows. What this means big picture remains to be seen. But if we look at something like, past, who has a good, is it Poloniex? The sort of thing where it's like past performance is not indicative of future performance, that sort of thing. I guess that could be applied, but when we look at what it's done historically, I mean, this is ringing a lot of bells here. It just tends to bleed out, and it bleeds out, and then it just goes, whoosh, just does these crazy things. Maybe fourth time is a bit much to ask for, but I don't mind throwing some money at this just to see if it, I try to trade responsibly, but every now and then, I'll play the lottery. I'll throw some bucks at the scratch offs just to see if I can win 20. It's fun. Who gives a shit? XRP is the scratch off equivalent of crypto. It's like, oh, am I going to win big money? Oh, you know. But yeah, I mean, I see a beautiful setup here on the daily chart. I honestly haven't looked at the weekly chart. If I had to guess, it's got to be diverging in some capacity, right? XRP USD. Oh, I guess it's probably bottomed too much to really show anything. But yeah, this daily chart looks good. At least for, you know, a 10-15% bounce. This is, in my opinion, one of the more high probability plays we can make. And I think it, at minimum, comes up and retests this, this guy right here. And the fact that it's tested it so many times, I could totally see this thing. Get out of here. I could totally see this thing coming up and doing one of these numbers, or in typical XRP fashion, just melting everyone's balls off and just keep going up. So, but either way, regardless, the daily setup looks solid. You know, it's a high probability play. Divergence on both volume and oscillation into support. You know, I'll take that trade all day. Additionally, you know, taking things into macro perspective, bullish on total market cap, bullish or bearish on the dollar, bullish on Bitcoin. Like, are you seeing the trend here? No pun intended. Are you seeing the trend here? The argument. It's like, it's just very straightforward. Keep it simple. Okay. Let's look at XLM. Who has XLM history? Oh, Jesus Christ. Looks like shit. Okay. I don't love this. Anytime I see something come up through a weekly trend and get swatted down, I don't love that. It's kind of seeing this like, who has longer price history? Probably Poloniex again. Does anyone even trade on Poloniex? Oh wait, doesn't Poloniex have like some weird ticker for XLM? What is it? What is the Poloniex ticker for Stellar? It's something weird. It's not XLM. It's something else. They call it something else. Jesus. Yo, XLM guy, if you want me to chart it, you gotta do some work here. Type in 3 letters. I know it's really hard. Stellar Lumen. Yeah. I'm saying, what's the ticker for it? Oh my god. STR. Yeah, I knew it was something stupid. Yeah, there you go. So anytime we see something like that, not a super big fan, you know, because what we want to see is something like this, like what we see on Ether, where it's clean breakout, very strong confidence going into these macro trends, and this shows, you know, just lack of confidence. And I bet if we look at the Stellar BTC chart, yeah, this looks even worse. I mean, came up into the macro cloud and just bled out. You know, maybe it makes a larger trading range or something here, and it continues and then it goes, but this just looks like shit. I see no reason to throw money at this guy. Like, this had all of the chance in the world to close inside. Yeah, this just looks like shit. Like, this should have continued to the top side of the cloud, or at least retested the 200 EMA, and it wanted none of it. What was the other one? ZRX. ZRX. Who's got a good history? Well, sorry to tell you, dude. This looks like shit, too. Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially considering it came up and it retested this, like, macro resistance here and it just bled out to its lows. This isn't something I would personally want to have my hands on. Yeah. Sorry, but that looks like shit too. There's no discernible trend. Its structure just looks like noise at best. There are better uses of your money than. I'm not telling you. I'm not giving you financial advice or anything and telling you to sell it. But I'm just saying, if one were inclined, there are better uses of your money elsewhere. Neo. Yeah, I saw some people tweeting about Neo today. Who's got it? Oh. Ooh. So, I haven't looked at a Neo chart in a while, but this is something that really tickles my fancy, so to speak. When we look at something like this, I like this chart a lot. So this is the Neo USD chart. This looks like a white coffee in accumulation. To be honest with you, I assumed Neo was dead. I don't know why anyone would be accumulating this on a macro scale. Maybe they're doing something super neat. Don't give a shit. But this is a white coffee in accumulation if I ever saw one. We see this very classic low volume spring that clears the lows. Clears all-time lows, actually. That's fucked. That's so fucked. It clears the all-time lows and it rallies to the midline, and now it's seeing this. This right here is a change, a quote unquote change of character, chocolate, and it's seeing this really beautiful. And these are weekly candles, by the way. These are weekly. It's seeing this really beautiful support resistance flip here. I like this chart a lot. If Neo was going to fail, I would have expected it to fail here and bleed back into the range, but it's not. And I suspect, without looking at it, we're going to see something similar on the yeah. So the Bitcoin chart looks pretty good too. Oh yeah, perfect. So yeah, dude, Neo looks great. Neo's so hot right now. Are you kidding me? Look at this. Perfect cloud breakout on the weekly. Man, Neo looks great. Interesting. Let's dig a little deeper into this guy because I like this chart a lot. Yeah, dude. So this has been accumulating for Jesus since October of 2018. This has been accumulating, and it's seeing a macro break. Dude, Neo looks amazing. Yeah, I could see this continuing to mark up, and maybe retesting this $47 value. Yeah, Neo's one of those coins I would just buy it at market value and say fuck everyone else and just not even look at it for another 3 months. Yeah, I like Neo. You picked two other really shitty coins, but you nailed it on Neo. This is on my radar. I'm gonna make a note in my trading group. Neo. This is my Neo note. Okay. That was really, dude, this is surprisingly nice. I haven't looked at a Neo chart in a while. So question from YouTube. Appreciate if you could take a look at AGI on Binance. Thanks in advance. And for all the answers and in-depth analysis you do, you certainly are unique in comparison to the rest of Twitter. Thanks, Lulu Phoenix. Felix, not Phoenix. I saw that you have Felix the cat as your avatar, and that's how I realized it wasn't Phoenix because I'm illiterate as fuck. Okay, AGI. On Binance. Singularity Net. So this chart actually doesn't look that bad. I think someone brought this up in the. This is probably you. Someone brought this up in the last. This looks really familiar. But it's doing this like bull pennant kind of thing, isn't it? I think. Sorry, I'm looking at this for the first time, so I would like to see this consolidate longer and sneak its way out of the side of this cloud. I mean, the lagging span is not breaking out of the cloud yet, so it's still got a long way to go before it's like uber bullish. But this actually looks pretty nice. I love these like bleeding bottoms that rally. And the fact that this didn't fully retrace like OMG did, like OMG, exactly like I said it would, it broke out. Everyone's like, oh, because it broke out, I should be buying, right? And then they just end up bag and holding their balls off. But we see this really clean retest of the Kijun here on the weekly. And I would like to see this just kind of consolidate through the cloud because I think a breakout here would probably see some follow through. I mean, what is the pull in this thing? Yeah, dude, this is a good chart too. I'm not even gonna look at the USD chart. I'll just stay on the Bitcoin chart. But yeah, no, this looks good. This is what I would want to see. You know, the daily could see this like sort of thing, but macro picture looks good. Can you look at ICX? Dude, everyone always asks me about that. And I feel like without even looking at the chart, I feel like everyone always asks me that. And my response is always, man, this looks pretty good. And I've never bought any of it. Oh, I take that back. This looks like shit. I think I never said that. I take that back. This looks like shit. Okay. So, do I need to go into an explanation as to why this looks like shit? I feel like I already explained that with, ZRX and XLM. Yeah, this chart looks like shit, dog. Sorry, I don't like this. It just looks like chop. You know, maybe it goes up, but again, there are more productive uses of capital that have higher confidence and less stress. I would like you to provide me financial advice. Well, a lot of things in life you want, you don't get. To the guy who just typed Zeke, I'm not a fucking jukebox. Talk to me like a human being. Just ticker input here. Okay. I mean, do we need to talk about anything else? Let me see. Actually, so because this is like nearing the end of the stream, I'll go ahead and talk about metals because I think it's actually really important to chart them, even if you're not trading them. I'm personally trading them, but I think it's really important to chart them. Just a really fast fucking elevator pitch here. Gold is bullish as shit. It's been bullish as shit since the beginning of 2019. It's been breaking out very cleanly. I do think that it's going to see a little bit of a pullback. I'm hoping to get some buys filled on this level. I've been holding a bag of gold for a while. And same story on silver. Silver is super bullish, but I think it has some downside to it, especially when we look at the cloud structure. I mean, silver is super bullish, but I'm expecting this level here. But you know, it is seeing this retest of the Kijun, so it could just keep trending up with price. But gold and silver are super bullish. They're just kind of seeing this temporary pullback accompanied by this dollar bounce here. And I want to talk about S&P 500 because it's important too. I mean, this is like a bull's wet dream right here. The monthly chart on SPY is just like bulls on bulls on bulls. It keeps getting these 50 EMA retests and bounce, these Kijun retests and bounce. It sees this deep pullback to the cloud, and then bam, it pops a new all-time high. I think that this is going to keep going up as long as we don't start seeing a close below this level here on the monthly, which closes in like 2 days or whatever. How many days are there in September? 28 or 30? 30 days. So it closes in 2 days. Monthly just looks really good. Yeah. So let's this is perfect. Let's recap here. So not only is there a strong, did that make it bold? Oh, it only does the whole thing. Not only is there a, that's weak. That's weak trading view. Let me put fucking emphasis on the syllables. Not only is there a strong bearish bias on the dollar, there is a strong macro bias on everything else. Stocks, metals, crypto, housing. Insert here asset denominated in USD. So listen, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my spiel. I think it's really cool, and I get the allure of wanting to trade low time frame stuff. I get it. I did it. It's fun, but I said this last time kind of as a joke, but I'm being serious. For me, and I suspect this, I can't speak for everyone, but I suspect this is the case for most people. You'd be better off trading high time frames and just doing literally anything else with your life. The more I stare at charts, the more I second guess myself, and the lower my strike rate gets with success. Trading is oftentimes the friends with benefits, the girl that is a lot of fun, or guy that's a lot of fun, that you mistake to have feelings with. And if you get too much of a good thing, you start to hate it. And unless you're willing to just be on that grind, you got to be realistic with yourself, right? Like, unless you're willing to be on that grind all day, every day, or you're very disciplined, or you have goals that you're trying to achieve, just stay away from the low time frame stuff. Stop looking at 15-minute candles, because in 3 months you're going to be pissed that you sold your $4 link at $6 instead of waiting for it to hit $20. You know, like, I've seen this time and time again. I've experienced it. Just, you know, the whole point of trading is that you want to make your life better, not worse. And if you find that your diet's getting shitty, you're not exercising, your vitamin D levels are going down because you're just staying inside. You know, maybe you're at a party and you keep checking your phone to check price. Like, everyone's been there. That sucks. Don't do it. Try to make improvements that will improve your life, not just your trading ability, because trading isn't your life. And if it is your life, that's not for me. But anyway, that was enough paternal advice. If you'd like to join my trading community where I talk about this stuff more in depth and more frequently, go to bitcoinschmittcoin.com, where I can lecture you one-on-one and tell you how you're a giant disappointment to your father. No, I'm just kidding. You're all winners in my eye. But go to bitcoinschmittcoin.com if you want to join the trading group. Other than that, maybe I'll do a stream next week. But again, I've been trying to only stream whenever there's like stuff to say, and when there's not stuff to say, I'll just hang out and do jiu-jitsu and drink some whiskey or something. But that's all I got. Again, go to bitcoinschmittcoin.com, and I'll see you guys on the next stream.